They tell you it's just business, just networking, just the way powerful people move through the world. And when you see their names in a dead predator's calendar, you're told it means nothing, just association. Meanwhile, Black families lose their homes to discriminatory lending. Black workers get called slurs on factory floors owned by billionaires. Black kids get targeted by algorithms that predict they're criminals before they've done anything wrong. And when you ask who's responsible, they say it's market forces, law and order, the system working as intended. But in September 2025, Congress released Jeffrey Epstein's private schedules, and the names inside those pages, they're the same people running the corporations and backing the policies that have destroyed Black wealth, Black bodies, and Black futures for decades. This isn't about conspiracy theories. This is about power, proximity, and who pays the price when the elite protect each other. By the end of this, you'll see exactly how that protection works and why your family has been paying for it while they walk free. Let's start with what just dropped. House Oversight Committee Democrats released over 8,000 documents from Jeffrey Epstein's estate: schedules, phone logs, flight manifests, financial ledgers. The man died in jail in August 2019 waiting for his sex trafficking trial, but his records kept talking. And what they say is simple. The most powerful people in tech, finance, and politics move through the same private circles. November 27, 2017, Peter Thiel, the billionaire who co-founded PayPal and Palantir, has a lunch scheduled with Epstein. December 2014, Elon Musk's name appears in a calendar entry about a possible visit to Epstein's private island. Musk says he never went, but the point isn't whether that specific meeting happened. The point is proximity. These people orbited the same sun. And here's where it gets darker. Because those same names, those same companies, those same networks have been sued, fined, and dragged into court for systematic harm against Black people. Not one incident, not one bad actor, a pattern so consistent you can trace it like a fingerprint. Let me show you what I mean. Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, owns Tesla, runs SpaceX, bought Twitter, and turned it into X. In September 2023, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission sued Tesla for violating the Civil Rights Act. The allegation? Since at least 2015, Black workers at Tesla's Fremont, California factory have been subjected to the N-word.
Tesla now getting sued for allegedly tolerating racial harassment of its Black workers and retaliating against those who spoke out about it. This is a suit coming from the EEOC. You've probably seen that around your workplace, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. It includes claims from a Black worker at the Fremont, California plant who says people were using what they describe as the N-word all the time, especially men and particularly white men.
Monkey, boy, swastikas carved into equipment, nooses left in the workplace, racial slurs scrawled on vehicles and bathroom walls. The EEOC says Tesla knew, and Tesla didn't stop it. Worse, when Black employees spoke up, the company retaliated against them. One worker, Owen Diaz, was an elevator operator. In 2021, a jury awarded him $137 million. Tesla appealed. A second jury still gave him over $3 million. He eventually settled in March 2024 for an undisclosed amount.
We just want to be just treated and seen as equal human beings. They decided not to follow through. They decided to kill investigations. You know, you can't keep treating workers like this.
That means Tesla paid him to make it go away. And the federal lawsuit? As of January 2026, it moved to private mediation. Translation: they're negotiating behind closed doors so the public won't see what comes out. This is the same man whose name showed up on Epstein's December 2014 calendar. You see how this works? When Musk appears in Epstein's files, the story is about whether he actually went to the island. When Black workers at his factory get called slurs every day for years, the story is about whether Tesla had proper HR policies. One gets called association, the other gets called a labor dispute. Speaking of Black history, this kind of exposure is exactly why we started this channel. By the way, if you want more hidden stories like this, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. Now back to the men in those schedules. Peter Thiel, his lunch with Epstein in November 2017 wasn't a one-time thing. Reporting from years earlier showed multiple scheduled meetings between 2014 and 2017. Thiel co-founded Palantir, a company that builds surveillance software. And Palantir's technology has been used to target Black communities with what they call predictive policing. Let me explain how that works. Police feed historical arrest data into an algorithm. The algorithm identifies patterns and tells cops where crime is likely to happen next. Sounds neutral, right? Data-driven, scientific. Except the data going in is already biased. If police have been over-policing Black neighborhoods for decades, the algorithm learns that Black neighborhoods are where crime happens. Then it sends more police there, which generates more arrests, which feeds back into the algorithm. It's a loop that disguises racism as math. New Orleans used Palantir's system from 2012 to 2018.
The city government didn't even know at first because the program was set up secretly through a philanthropic partnership.
It bypassed public oversight. Los Angeles ran a program called Operation Laser using Palantir's Gotham software. It created lists of people labeled chronic offenders. You got points just for being contacted by police. Not arrested, not convicted, just contacted. And once you were on the list, police tracked you constantly. Researchers who studied Oakland's predictive system found that Black neighborhoods were targeted at twice the rate of white neighborhoods for illegal substance crimes, even though data shows Black and white people use illegal substances at the same rates. The system didn't reduce crime. A 2014 study by RAND, a research organization, found no statistically significant crime reduction from predictive policing. What it did do was put more surveillance, more stops, more arrests onto Black families. Palantir marketed their tools with the slogan, "Your software is the weapon system." They knew exactly what they were selling. After public outcry and civil rights lawsuits, cities started ending these contracts. Los Angeles ended Laser in 2019. New Orleans shut down their program after it was exposed. But the damage had already been done. Thousands of Black people tracked, harassed, arrested, their lives disrupted because an algorithm decided they were suspicious. Now let's talk about money. JP Morgan Chase is one of the largest banks in the world, and for years, Jeffrey Epstein was a client. His main contact? Jess Staley, a top executive who ran the private banking division where Epstein kept his accounts. Staley didn't just handle Epstein's money. He called him one of his deepest and most cherished friends in private emails. When British regulators started asking questions, Staley lied about how close they were. In October 2023, the UK Financial Conduct Authority banned Staley from working in financial services. He appealed. In June 2025, the ban was upheld. A man who ran one of the most powerful banks in the world got caught lying to protect his relationship with a convicted predator. And here's the kicker. While Staley was handling Epstein's accounts at JP Morgan, that same bank was ripping off Black families. In January 2017, JP Morgan Chase settled with the Department of Justice for $53 to $55 million. The allegation? Between 2006 and 2009, mortgage brokers working for Chase charged Black and Hispanic borrowers higher interest rates and fees than white borrowers with the same credit profiles. We're not talking about a few people. 53,000 Black and Hispanic families were overcharged. The average Black borrower paid an extra $1,126. Hispanic borrowers, $968. Chase gave brokers the power to adjust loan pricing without documenting why. And the bank didn't monitor whether those adjustments were discriminatory. They just let it happen. When they got caught, JP Morgan admitted the government found that brokers charged minorities more, but the bank denied doing anything wrong. That's the game. Admit the harm happened, deny responsibility, pay a settlement, move on. 50,000 families got some money back, but how many of them lost their homes first? How many couldn't refinance and got trapped in bad loans during the 2008 financial crisis? How many watched their wealth disappear while executives like Jess Staley built deeper and more cherished friendships with men like Epstein? And this is where everything connects. Because it's not just banks and factories and police software, it's the whole ecosystem. Facebook, now called Meta, is another example. Peter Thiel was one of Facebook's first major investors. He sat on the board from 2005 to 2022. In June 2022, the Department of Justice settled with Meta over violations of the Fair Housing Act. The issue?
Facebook's advertising algorithms. When companies wanted to run ads for housing, jobs, or credit, Facebook's system used race, sex, and national origin to decide who saw those ads. If you were black, the algorithm might not show you an ad for a house in a white neighborhood. The system was designed to maximize engagement, and it learned that people engage more with ads that reflect their demographic profile. So it segregated advertising automatically. No human had to write a racist rule. The algorithm just learned to discriminate because that's what the data told it to do. This was the first time the federal government challenged algorithmic bias under the Fair Housing Act. Meta agreed to pay the maximum penalty, $115,000, pocket change for a company worth hundreds of billions. They also agreed to build a new system called variance reduction to stop the bias. But the damage was already done.
How many black families never saw ads for homes they could afford? How many never got the chance to build wealth through home ownership because an algorithm decided they didn't belong? Now let's zoom out to the policies. Because individual companies are just one part of the system. The other part is law. In September 1994, President Bill Clinton signed the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act, the largest crime bill in American history. $30 billion authorized over 6 years, $9 billion for building prisons, $8 billion to hire 100,000 new police officers, expansion of the federal death penalty, mandatory minimum sentences, 3 strikes laws that sent people to prison for life, truth in sentencing requirements that forced states to keep people locked up longer if they wanted federal money. The bill even eliminated federal funding for education programs in prisons. It said if you're convicted, you don't deserve a chance to learn. And it worked exactly as designed. Mass incarceration in America had been growing since the early 1970s, but the 1994 bill accelerated it. Incarceration rates kept climbing for 14 years after the bill passed, peaking in 2008. By 1994, black people were already 51% of those sentenced to prison, up from 33% in 1964. The bill made it worse. Scholars debate exactly how much the crime bill contributed versus other factors, but even supporters admit it escalated the scale of the damage. It created financial incentives for states to lock people up and keep them there. And Bill Clinton? He was photographed with Jeffrey Epstein multiple times in the early 2000s. Clinton's name doesn't appear in the recently released calendar entries, but his social connection to Epstein is well documented. Republicans accused Democrats of cherry-picking the documents to avoid releasing files with Democratic officials' names. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But here's what we know for sure. The crime bill that Clinton signed destroyed black communities. It separated families. It took fathers, brothers, sons, and locked them away for decades. It funneled billions into building cages instead of schools. And when you add up the executives, the investors, the politicians who move through the same elite circles, you see the pattern. When they appear in Epstein's files, we're told it's just networking. When their policies and their companies crush black families, we're told it's just the market, just the law, just the way things work. That detail matters because this isn't about one bad person or one bad company. This is about a class of people who are insulated from consequences. Jess Staley lied to regulators and got banned from banking in the UK, but he's still rich. He's not in jail. Elon Musk's company is being sued by the federal government for years of racial harassment, and he's still the richest man alive. Peter Thiel's company sold surveillance tools that targeted black neighborhoods, and he's still investing in the next generation of tech. JP Morgan Chase paid $53 million for discrimination and stayed one of the biggest banks in the world. Meta paid $115,000 for algorithmic segregation. That's less than what some of their engineers make in a year. And Bill Clinton? He's an elder statesman. He gets paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to give speeches. Meanwhile, the families affected by these policies, these companies, these systems, they're still paying. Black homeownership rates are still lower than they were before the 2008 crash. Black workers are still getting harassed at their jobs and told to just file a complaint. Black people are still incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white people.
Black neighborhoods are still over-policed and under-resourced. The costs flow downward. The profits and the protection flow up. And that's the grand payoff here. That's what the Epstein files really show. Not that every person who met him is guilty of his crimes, but that there is a billionaire class that operates in a closed loop. They meet at the same lunches. They invest in each other's companies. They sit on each other's boards. They vacation in the same places. And when one of them gets exposed, the rest close ranks. They downplay. They deny. They settle quietly. And the systems they control, the banks, the tech platforms, the police software, the prisons, those systems keep grinding. They keep taking wealth from Black families and funneling it upward. They keep putting Black bodies under surveillance and into cages. And they do it with language that sounds neutral. Algorithms, market efficiency, public safety, data-driven solutions. But you strip away the jargon, and it's the same thing it's always been. A system where power protects itself and pushes the cost onto the people with the least ability to fight back.
Epstein's calendar is just a window into how that system works. It's not about who went to the island. It's about who built the world where islands like that can exist while families lose their homes to discriminatory loans. Workers get called slurs for years without consequences, and kids get tracked by software that assumes they're criminals. That's not a conspiracy. That's structure. That's power. And that's what they don't want you to see. Because if you see it, you start asking different questions. Not just, did this person meet that person, but who profits and who pays? Not just, was this policy legal, but who did it harm and who did it protect? Not just, did this company break the law, but why is the fine so small and why are the executives still in charge? And when you start asking those questions, the whole game becomes visible. The reason these stories stay hidden isn't because there's no evidence. It's because the people with the power to tell the stories are the same people who benefit from the system. They control the narrative the same way they control the markets and the algorithms and the laws. They decide what counts as a scandal and what counts as business as usual. A meeting with Epstein is uncomfortable, but not disqualifying. A career destroyed by a discriminatory loan is just personal responsibility. A factory full of racial slurs is a management issue. A predictive policing algorithm is innovation. They name the crimes and they name the criminals, and somehow it's never them. But you know now. You've seen the calendars. You've seen the lawsuits. You've seen the settlements and the bans and the billion-dollar companies that keep running even after they're caught. You've seen how proximity to power insulates people from accountability and how that same power builds systems that crush everyone else. That's the story. Not that bad people exist. We already knew that. The story is that bad people with enough money and enough connections don't face consequences the way everyone else does. They face privacy concerns and reputation management and settlement negotiations. Meanwhile, Black families face eviction and unemployment and incarceration. The elite get association. We get systemic impact. And the gap between those two words is where all the power lives. This was Black Stories Untold. And as always, thanks for watching. If you want more stories like this, click the video on your screen now